Welcome to Gilmour Racing. I'm Matt from KCK Lubricants, and today I thought I'd show you what it takes to get one of these ready for the new season, and also what happened in our pre-season testing that saw us turn one of these into all of these. First job on the list, engine oil change. So let's get into it. These cars are fitted with a dry sump system, and it's a massive job to get to the sump of the engine or to the bottom of the oil tank. So what we need to do is to start the engine up. The reason we need to do that is because the oil tank's higher than the sump of the engine. So this car's been sitting for a week and a half maybe. The oil level will try to equalise. So now the dry sump tank is half full, but the crankcase of the engine is full, and that's really difficult to get out. So what we'll do is we'll start this up, run it for a few minutes, let the oil pump all the oil back into the oil tank, and then we can suck it out from there. Okay, engine cover is off, jump batteries on, kill switch is on. It's all going well. We can start this thing up. Fingers crossed. Okay, we only run the car for 4 or 5 minutes maybe, just enough to get the oil back up into the dry sump tank. I'll just pull a banjo bolt out of the top of the tank, and then we can use our oil sucker to suck the oil out of the tank while it's in there. I'll just grab the camera in a second, and I'll show you the tank and its location. It's something that might be quite interesting to a few of you, as packaging and weight is far more important than serviceability in these. The oil tank is actually located in the middle of the bell housing. Yeah, the middle of the bell housing. So that much in the middle of the bell housing. The input shaft actually runs through the center of the dry sump tank. It's more to do with like I said, the aerodynamics and the weight of the car, to get everything as low as you can and allow you to create the shape you want out of the engine cover instead of having big bulky tanks placed around the car. We'll let this suck the oil out, we'll measure it to make sure we get it all out, and then we'll get on to the next job. This is a little bit of a closer look, as in where the tanks are in the car. So that's the back of the engine, bell housing into the gearbox, dry sump tanks right in the middle there. And like I said, the purpose of this is packaging, making use of the available space and getting the weight as low as possible. So we've almost pulled about 5 litres out of this engine, which is about what we'd expect. So we'll finish this up, I'll put the bung back in, and we'll move on to the next job. So just about to put some engine oil back in. With the oil life of these, we've done a complete race meeting, including a test day and then another test day. So that's about the life of the engine oil we find with these. It's probably 500 kilometres of roundabouts of full competition. What oil do we use? You bet. KCK Lubricants, 10W40 full synthetic. Been using it for years and years in these cars. Never ever had a lubrication related failure. That's why we keep using it. It's great on the engines. The engine builders love it. Well, they don't, because it saves us money and costs them what could have been sales in a lot of parts. But it's the way it goes. We win championships. Can't argue with that. So I'll go ahead, put some oil in this, and then next is the brakes. I think it goes without saying that the brakes on any race car are a consumable. So we'll go ahead now, we'll get the wheels off, we'll have a look at the brakes. Just while we're pulling the wheels off, I thought I'd show you the retaining system for these wheels. Quite simple, just a single nut in the middle, but just this wire retainer. So that should stop that wheel nut ever coming all the way off the spindle, and should stop the wheel falling off completely. All 4 wheels have got those, they're mandatory, and they work really well. we've gone ahead and got the wheels off. The brakes, certainly not new anymore. They're not too bad, there's no cracking in the discs, but for those who know him, Team Errol always said, we're here to win races, not save money. So, new set of brakes it is. Forever we've used the performance friction products, love them, had a great run with them. Very few people can outbrake our cars, and we put that down to the package that Performance Friction supplies us. It's a fantastic gig. We pay as much as anybody else. There's no advertising here. It's just a great product that we have great results with. So we'll go ahead, get the brakes ready. As far as serviceability goes, these are a pretty good product. Just the 2 bolts, they're a monoblock caliper obviously, and we can just slide these up out of the way and pull the disc off. It's very, very user friendly, only takes a few minutes to change brake pads. A bit of a trap for beginners. If you look in there really close, you can see the pad material is actually offset. So they are directional. If you get them backwards, they do wear quite weird. But we'll get these discs changed onto the new hats and put it back together. Just getting the brake parts sorted, ready to put together. This is how they come individually boxed. These are different sides front to rear, and these are directional, so pay attention. Just doing the rear discs at the moment. You can see here the retaining bolts. Pull them out, and it's just this retaining ring in the back here. And once you've got that off, the disc just lifts out of the hat. Give everything a good clean up, and we'll get it back together and start getting them back on the car. All done, new brakes are all together, everything's cleaned up, double checked, obviously a visual inspection, make sure there's no cracks or anything worn that we didn't know about. All the bolts are torqued up. Someone's gone to a lot of effort to figure out how tight these bolts are going to be, and I'm pretty sure you don't know better than they do. So torque everything up, make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. We'll go through bleed the brakes now. What do we use for brake fluid? KCK .6 brake fluid. A lot of reasons, you know, the drivers love it, great pedal feel, good boiling point, all that sort of stuff. But one of the biggest things for me is when everyone else is running around at the end of the day, flushing brake fluid, bleeding brakes, stripping bleed screws, we're the ones that have gone home and we're looking for the best place to eat in town. It's one less thing we've got to do. It's very, very low serviceability, lasts forever. We've never had corrosion issues. We don't wear calipers, we don't wear pistons. It's fantastic, and I'm the guy that's got to fix everything, so the less things I've got to do, the happier I am, and I'm very happy to use the KCK .6 brake fluid. Next job on the list, gear ratios. Now gear ratios we change, every track we go to is different ratios for a lot of different reasons. We want to come out of the corner in the peak power band of the engine, and we don't want to run out of revs at the end of the straight. We don't want our drivers to be changing gears mid-corner if they don't have to. So we go to a lot of effort to get the ratios right for each track. So we'll get down the back of the car, we'll pull this gearbox apart, and I'll show you what's in there. The back of the car is a lot dirtier than it usually is, and I'll get to that in a minute. But what we need to do to get to the gears inside the gearbox is we pull the stays off the rear wing, we'll get rid of this carbon fibre rear nappy, and I'll show you the back of the gearbox, and I'll show you how we get the gearbox apart to change the gear ratios. The rear gearbox nappy is off. We've got a drain tray under the car. We've gone through, we've loosened all the bolts in there. We've disconnected the rain light, and we've disconnected the wing stays there. So now with a bit of a bump, hopefully that'll come off. Just like that, we'll let that drain for a bit. And then this whole wing assembly will lift off, and we'll see inside the gearbox. And that's it there, the whole wing assembly comes off in one bit, exposing the gearbox. Now we hear mystical stories about people changing a full set of ratios in under 10 minutes, and I'm sure this happens. It's certainly not going to happen today. All looks good in there, the oil's clean. Often these will make metal, and we've found since we've started using the KCK Performance Gear Oil, We don't have this problem anymore. Being a crash dog box as such, it's probably the main reason actually we formulated the oil was for these, to keep them alive. And as you can see, everything in there looks brand new, as it should, or as we would expect. We'll go through now. I'll take this off and then all the gears can come straight off. First thing we need to get rid of is the selector forks. Just pull the selector shaft out. Take off the last two forks. Like I said, the locking nuts off, the rear bearing, the washer can come off. Then we can start pulling gears off. Thirds at the back. And then it's almost an order from there. Just a bit of an visual inspection of all the dogs as they come apart, make sure we're not missing anything. No good putting a new set of gears in it if it's got a problem in there somewhere anyway. And there's top gear. So first and second and reverse is still in there, and then it's third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So now we can go through, we can clean it up, tee up our next set of ratios and get this thing back together. Now while this gearbox drains, let's have a talk about the accident we had in pre-season testing. Well, it wasn't an accident, it was probably more of a failure. Very unusual failure, but it's done a lot of damage to the front of the car. All the winglets and turning vanes are all missing, been ripped off, damage to suspension arms, and same on this side. We've got piles of broken bits everywhere. And what happened was the wheel failed. Broke the center out of the rim. Now these are visually inspected before we go out, because wheels do break, it does happen, they're under a fair bit of load, and we do try to change them often enough that we don't have these sorts of failures. But what's happened with this wheel coming off, you can see on the video, Roman's done a fantastic job keeping it on the track. The front left of the wing has just dug into the gravel trap, has ripped the wing off. The wing's then gone back under the car and done a lot of damage to the front of the car, and especially underneath. The floor's very, very damaged at all. That about wraps it up here today. I've still got a few things to do, and as we spoke about, a few more things to fix, and we might do another video on that as more of the front end parts come in. We'll do a video as the front of the car goes back together. I'll go through now, change the shocky settings, sway bars, springs, all the stuff that's for my eyes only, not for you, and we'll see how we go. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.